Hello and thank you for joining in on the live news. I am Jessica Ochai. The headlines. Northern stakeholders call for harsh punishment for politicians. Military unveils identities of wanted terror commanders, places 5 million naira bounty. First protester sentenced to death over protest on the death of Masha Amini. Tilasho in trouble as Nigerian strikers soar ahead of fixture.
Alive TV.
And now the news in detail. The Arewa Consultative Forum ACF is calling for serious sanctions on politicians promoting hate speech ahead of the 2023 general election. According to ACF, the recent increase in hate speech and violence across the federation is becoming a norm that needs to be clamped before it gets uncontrolled. In a statement made available to the media in Kaduna on Sunday, reveals that politicians now prioritize their selfish ambition at the expense of peace and stability of Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Defense Headquarters on Monday released the names and identities of 19 terrorist commanders who have been terrorizing the northeast, northwest, and north-central zone of the country. The military high command said it would give 5 million naira to any Nigerian who has information on how the terrorists can be captured. The military, according to the Director of Defense Information, Major General Jimmy Akpo, urged the public with relevant information to make contact. It stated that the development became imperative in order to sustain tempo in clearing the adversaries, adding that it is in its bid to completely restore peace back to the country. On the foreign scene, Iran's Revolutionary Court has sentenced a protester to death and handed down jail terms to 5 others. The ruling likely marks the first death sentence in the trials of those arrested for participating in protests that have swept Iran over the past weeks, demanding an end to clerical rule. Anti-government demonstrations have been going on for weeks in Iran and were sparked by the death in custody of 22-year-old Masha Amini, who was detained after allegedly violating the country's strict dress code for women. Thousands of peaceful protesters have been arrested since 16 September, including many women, children, youth, and lawyers, human rights defenders, and also activists. And on sport news, the Super Eagles take on Portugal on the 17th, and coach Fernando Santos has a lot to think about before the game, as 6 of the 7 invited Super Eagles forwards for the international friendly game against Portugal scored for their clubs last weekend. The Super Eagles forward line is made up of Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, Terem Murphy, Moses Simon, Emmanuel Dennis, Paul Onuachu, and Samuel Chukwueze. Of the 7 forwards, only Dennis failed to score last weekend. Lookman scored the opener for Atalanta in their clash against Inter Milan. Osimhen found the net for Napoli when they beat Udinese 3-2. Murphy scored the solidarity goal for Lawrence in their 1-1 draw at Strasbourg. Also, Simon scored an 89th minute equalizer for Nantes. Onuachu struck again in Genk's impressive victory at Anderlecht, and Chukwueze netted a brace for Villarreal. And that's all we have for you at this hour on Alive News. But before we go, a recap of the headlines. Northern stakeholders call for harsh punishment for politicians. Military unveils identities of wanted terror commanders, places 5 million naira bounty. First protester sentenced to death over protest on the death of Masha Amini. Tilasho in trouble as Nigerian strikers soar ahead of fixture. Thank you for watching, and once again, I am Jessica Ochai. Do have a good day.
Alive TV.